Well, welcome back to another Waynosfotos videos. Now, I've been pretty busy with a lot of other parts of my business going on. I do weddings and I also do car videography, which I've been putting a lot more evidence, especially in the wedding side. So that's why we haven't been seeing as many videos from Waynosfotos. But let's just get back into an update. And what we're going to talk about today is just cover a few points of what's coming up in Waynosfotos. And the first one is the Wahoo V1. Now, this computer now is the superseded one. And why I'm talking about this is because not all of us can rush out and buy the latest toys for our bicycle all the time. The bicycles are expensive, the toys are expensive. I really love people like GP Llama and DC Rainmaker who do very, very good reviews on these sorts of products. But to be real, we can't go out. Well, I can't anyway, so I imagine you're probably similar to me. Can't go out and buy this stuff all the time, new release at full price. So let's roll the intro, and then we can have a bit of a talk about why I'm talking about an old model. Well, this Wahoo here, the reason why I want to talk about this is this has probably been reviewed maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and there's a new one out which has better mapping systems on it. But not all of us need really good mapping unless we travel overseas or we're going to new areas or we're riding in new areas all the time. The basic mapping works. I found it's pretty reasonable. I've been overseas and I've used the mapping on the very first Element Wahoo, and I found that was adequate to get me out of trouble so I wouldn't get lost. So I'm not one who really is into having the latest mapping. I know that it's good. If you go the wrong way, it can reroute you on in a better way instead of making you go back to the same point and then back onto the route. So that is a disadvantage. If that's important to you, then this is probably not the cycle computer for you. But if that's not important to you, all of the other stuff this does, and this is heavily discounted at the moment. So if you're in the market for a new cycling computer, the V1, it's color, it does everything. It's it's a Wahoo, and all of the Wahoos are pretty similar. And it's the big one. It's not the little one, not the Bolt. This is the Roam, so it's the full-size screen, which I like because I'm old and I'm wearing glasses, and I have to be able to see the screen. So if you're like me and you can't afford to have the latest gear all the time that people like GP Llama and DC Rainmaker putting out, but I thank those for the reviews that they do, then something like this is a really good bargain because it's a run-out model, heavily discounted, $299 Aussie I pay for this. You may be able to even get it a bit cheaper. So I think that's actually really good value for a cycle computer at that price. So if you're in the market for one of them, go snap yourself one of those. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was where I've got a project happening at the moment, and it's a project that's been going on for about like 4 or 5 years. And what it is, it's a superbike. Now, when I say superbike, a lot of people refer to superbikes like MotoGP bikes or a really top-end road bike. But this is actually a bike called the Superbike, and it was an Australian-made bike that was designed back in the 90s, and it was sold up until about the early 2009-10s until they stopped selling it. And it is an Australian design, Australian made bike. And it's very, very similar to the Lotus bike. It's a bike that was designed when the UCI relaxed their rules, and it's got a one-piece frame. I'll just go and get it so you can have a look at it. So this is it here. Let me just move back a bit. So as you can see, I've had it painted up in the Australian flag. Now the reason why that is one of the Olympians who competed on this bike did actually have it painted in a very similar design. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. So I wanted an Australian flag. It's an Australian bike. I want it to look. Now, I had some hassles getting that paint job done. That's a story in itself, which I'll go over when I do a dedicated video on the bike. I've now got it painted. So I'm going to be going through a series of videos that are going to be talking about this bike and the build and how we're going to build it up, what group sets we're going to use, and then when it's finally done, how it rides, how it performs. So that's what I'll be doing with this super bike, and I'll also tell you about the dramas I've had with this thing, which there's been a number. So that's what Waynosfotos has been doing, and just wanted to keep you up to date. And also let you know that I have been busy with other parts of my business. I do car videography and I also do weddings. So that's been taking up some of my time lately. I've also got a day job. So there's only so many hours to go around, only so many hours to do editing. And that's been impacting on this channel, unfortunately. So the videos in the future won't be coming quite so often as they have been in the past. I used to do like 3 a week. I won't be able to offer that level of content in the future. So hopefully everyone is okay with that. But this will be interesting, the superbike, because it's something that's very unique and very usual. And I do believe only hundreds of these were made, this is not the carbon one that was used in the Olympics, but it's an aluminium derivative, which was made by, believe it or not, a bull bar company, aluminium bull bar company. So this is actually aluminium. Okay, so I'm going to pop this back down over here. So guys, that's what we got coming up. And also just remember, we've got the Wahoo V1. I'm going to do a little bit more of a review of this. Probably people have seen that before, and yeah, it's going to be a review of an old product, but what I think of it compared to the Element I had before, which was the original one. So that'll be coming. And if you want to get yourself a bargain and you're not always into the latest tech, but something that's almost as good as the latest tech, snap yourself one of these. Very good price. And that's where I'm going to leave it, guys. And I'll see you next video.